everybody, it's me, Little Red Dot. Here I am, putting out my very first YouTube series. So instead of releasing the games that I run over on my channel, which are coming, don't fret, but I wanted this series to be more about answering questions that I have received time and time again from all the wonderful people that watch the many shows that I'm a part of. I get a lot of questions about how I go about my role playing, how I develop my characters, how I make the choices that I make both prior to game and during game. And so I wanted this series to kind of break down some of the tips and tricks and things that I use thanks to my background in acting for most of my life and the education that I have to back that up. So I'm going to start today with what I think is the best piece of information I received when I was in acting school, and also comes from my improv training, which I think there are very many role players out there who want to be improvers or want to be better at improv, especially at the gaming table and if you're streaming, because there is, without a shadow of a doubt, a level of entertainment to what it is that we do, both in podcasting and in Twitch or on any kind of really new media. So I want to start with this one simple rule. It is the core base of everything that is improv. It's the first thing you learn, no matter what improv place you walk into. I promise it'll be the first thing that they tell you, which is there is a simple rule. Rule number one in improv is yes and. Yes and. It's simple, but really what it means is that we always agree. And I don't mean we always agree in our choices, but I mean when I present a choice or I present an idea, you say yes and then add to that moment. So let me break that down. In improv, I might be on a stage and I would say, halt, I have a gun, right? Or don't move a muscle. Now, my partner could say, well, that's not a gun, that's just your fingers. You're just simply pointing your gun at me like, or your fingers at me like it's a gun. By you saying, well, that's not what that is, you have inevitably stopped momentum in a scene or in a moment. The yes and rule would say, instead of saying, well, that's just your fingers, you would say something like, well, you can't point a gun at me because I have a gun, right? Or you could say, hey, you can't point that gun at me. I gave you that gun for your birthday. You asshole, right? And now we have started a scene because I, as the scene mate or as the other role player, had a moment to say, yes, you're right, that is a gun. You're pointing at me. And then I add to that moment. And I think being able to say yes and in all the decisions that you make, even if you disagree, and I want to make that point clear. I want to make that point clear because I don't think that characters should always get along. That's not really yes and. You can have a conflict scene. Oh, I've got a great example. So in my podcast, right, I play this character Silo. It's Tiffany, my friend, one of the producers, plays Val, who is a orc. Silo has a little bit of a intoxication problem. And so anytime we're in a bar, my character goes out of control because, of course, that is me being in character, I guess, for this game. And so I walk in a bar. This is actually a scene that happened. I walked in a bar and Silo asked for something to drink. Specifically this, I called it turkey juice, but it's wild turkey basically. And it's this extreme alcohol. And Silo wants a whole pint of it. And Val, of course, being the mom figure that she is going to say no because she wants to take care of Silo. But she's not going to negate Silo's choice. So this is what happened in the scene. I walked up to the bar. I asked for my pint of turkey juice, which is basically a pint of wild turkey. And Val didn't say, no, don't give her that. She said, well, I have the money in the group. So she looked at the bartender and said she can only drink this much. Only what she can afford, basically. And Val put down only a certain amount of change. That's also a yes and. She didn't deny Silo the opportunity to drink that, and she didn't deny in that moment my character, her character flaw, really. She said, okay, yes, You can drink all you want, but only up to this amount. I think when you can begin bringing that to the table, and you and the players and your DM even can begin really using that rule of yes and, you're going to see a huge difference in how story builds, and how your team begins to collaborate both inside of like dungeon crawls, which you have to do, even just, you know, wandering through, you know, the city of Waterdeep, where you're all shopping and you all want different things, and how do you build in that moment together? And yes and rule, I think, is really the first step in that. So there's my first tip. My first tip for role-playing at the table is yes and. And I plan to release another one of these. I've got 2 more tips out of actual improv, and then I'm going to dive into a few other topics, including accents. I get that a lot. How do you go about your accents, or how do I do accents? Yeah, so I've got some topics coming up, but I guess I'm interested. What are some topics you would like to know about? And for all you DMs out there, don't fret. I actually have plans to release a DM series as well. But I want to hear from players, people that are out there, things that you struggle with, or the things that you love about it that maybe I can chat about or add to, or give some insight on. So yeah, this is very new to me, but drop a comment below. I'll be more than happy to check it, and I hope to begin releasing these probably, I'm hoping on a weekly basis, if not then a bi-weekly basis. But yeah, I am really excited for this and to hear what you have to say. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you can see when I post more of these videos, along with all of my games for my channel that will be coming here as well. That includes all of my Sunday fun days, where I basically drink mimosas on a Sunday morning and roll dice with sometimes new players, sometimes my besties. It's kind of an eclectic pool. We play a series of one-off games. And then you can also check out a few other series that I've completed, including the beta test of The Fate of Cthulhu. So both of those 2 storylines for that beta test will be coming out here shortly. So fun things. Yeah. So, subscribe. You can also follow me on social media. There'll be some links below for you to check that out. Keep a schedule up on Twitter, because I do a lot of dice rolling. So yeah. Thanks for stopping by and taking part in this series, and I'll have more content coming your way.